Welcome everyone to more live Linux distribution development. A month of updates, including multiple new contributors, maintainers, which is totally amazing. And the question is, does it still build or does it still blend? And that is a question that we certainly should test. And I'm also wondering if we should change the package selection a little bit and if we should build this slightly differently, because I noticed installing T2 on my own new data center virtual machines, the default build, especially for the high performance x86 and ARM64 stuff, does not suit myself the best. So probably I should actually build it till T2 in a way that suits me the best. I optimized too much for people playing along at home with their P3 and SG Octane. What that means is maybe, so I probably should pre-build Firefox, but maybe not everything of Xorg. So, and also if you need a small Xorg driver, you can easily build it even on an SG Octane or P3. You can build this in a minute or two, but not Firefox. So I wonder if we should fine-tune our package selection a little bit more, but just to throw some brainstorming into the YouTube sphere. Leave in the comments below, so I think I cleaned that. Yeah. And so what was I missing on the data center? Ironically, of all the stuff I added, including like Firefox and Rust and Cargo, I was missing, where was it like this? What was it? This stat or something for IO stat? That was this stat, yeah. So I think, all right, and there was also something, was it diff stat or something? Was it diff stat or maybe it was diff stat? Was it diff stat? Although maybe I should only add what I really need, maybe not like random like diff stat. But I think it's probably fair to add this stat. By the way, does it cross build? Let's quickly test that. For example, for risk 64, this stat, let's see if it cross builds. Yeah, feedback always appreciated, right? Either Patreon, GitHub, or here on YouTube. Obviously, leave comments below. Okay, that builds target generic. This start is nowhere. Where do we probably want that in? Is it fair to say that could be? So the problem is there are just so many thousand, like over 4,000 even packages in T2, and it's getting really many, right? The question is always how many packages are enough. Personally, I always prefer to keep it stupid simple, but there's always one more thing, right? Keeping it stupid simple, and then the next time I install it myself, I miss something. That is certainly, yeah, that's life. Do we have some stats of, yeah, even the minimal is getting a little bit out of hand, to be honest. By the way, do I have this correctly positioned so much to going live, and then that looks relatively okayish. Where's even my cursor? Or did this fail? Not. Yeah, so I mean, also stuff like unzip. Normally I wouldn't even ship unzip in the minimal selection. We only need this unzip to be able to download original sources from upstream stuff. There might be occasionally be one thing. Compressed as zip also, maybe even, yeah. Sometimes stuff even needs that to build, like Firefox. Where would be some stats thing? Okay, we have probably somewhere. Do we have, where is top in? Or maybe PS utils, proc PS. Probably here's like this stat. It's probably a nice thing to have. And so where is the mode setting right now? So for like maybe we only, where's minimal xorg? I mean, not that it would be, I mean, it is a nice test, right? So, okay, fair enough. Actually, we have here already quite some selection. I mean, we could like ship the 4. I mean, yes, and that is the thing, right? Supporting vintage and retro, and then everyone comes with just their one exotic. Why do we option out VQXL? Yes, that is the thing. Yeah, maybe just leave it. I mean, the thing is we don't even save the most. Also, to be fair, some of the stuff is a little bit outdated. So actually, do we need still fdef? Maybe, do we need that? Maybe not, I would hope. Slightly wonder why we option out that. So is it maintained? Sometimes it might be that this has not built. Unfortunately, rather common thing. Is this still like a thing? QXL? Yeah, this is also, yeah, no update in quite a while. Maybe QXL. Yeah. Also, maybe everyone wants to use Wayland anyway, right? Obviously, probably. So then I guess we leave it like that. But yeah, that is the state of open source packaging stuff that I recurrently. So we could theoretically distill this down to mode setting. Yeah, leave in the comments below. I mean, the thing is for the P3, the RSX driver is not ready. The impact driver, the SGI impact driver, I have not released in the latest state. There's always so much to do. I mean, it is a little, I'm only thinking out loud here. It is, of course, a little bit annoying. You boot T2 supporting vintage and retro systems. You boot this on your latest and greatest PowerBook or so with ATI or Novo, and or you build something with a Voodoo or Matrox. Yeah, okay, maybe we just leave it here. Although I was thinking, yeah, that is the thing. How much can we between? Yeah, maybe we need to work on having a better binary pre-built repository. Then this would not be so much of an issue. Okay, what have we done? We also added TTY thing there recently. Okay, tiny little bit clean up at least. So more stuff to test. The latest Linux. So one regression, there's also one regression because I improved for people emerging from source packages at home, and welcome everyone. And I actually regressed that now. What I changed is previously we were defaulting to a minimal package selection template, or actually I also added that we copy the config after installation so that if you continue building stuff at home, you have for PS3 or Spark exactly that matching potential 32-bit user space default. And that resulted in emerging stuff not having all packages selected. So I changed that now. The irony is now let's check. So we have this building, right? This is building on Epic Threadripping with 32 jobs. Precious Ryzen 15 and 50X, of course. Not wasting any time. And okay, so this is generic none. So the thing is with that we have people thought it's a regression or a new bug in our Discord server, when in fact it's not really. It's not a bug. It is also not new. What is happening here is, as you see, so this stuff will fail, as you see, because we have the mechanism that was mostly unused, at least by me, for a decade, because due to the nature of all this upstream Linux kernel patches like L7 filters here, for example. I'm actually surprised that this didn't... How did this not fail yet? Interesting. L7? Where is this? Because I would not expect those... Oh, this is just the Linux kernel. Where is the file name? Applying... What else do we have here? Okay, this is our stuff, and then... I mean, maybe we should delete some. The thing is, for the hunt of performance, I only pulled in some clear Linux and whatnot patches. Maybe that's a little bit... We wanted to be more raw and vanilla only for the Linux kernel because there's such a even fragmentation. You would think the Linux kernel one of the most upstream maintained things, but now there's of course Android and the distributions and all this new, we need more performance. So I went a little bit strange ways there with it. I think maybe we should potentially delete some of those. Why is this? Ah, yeah, IT87. So yeah, crazy many patches, and I'm actually wondering whether... Yeah, it's somewhat a little bit too much for my taste, but that's what you... It's a little bit strange. Why? I would say somehow there's maybe a tiny little bug because this OFS2 and UnionFS is... This is not what I expected. I expected this to enable packet patches that didn't apply anymore. Yeah, also another UnionFS file system. There is, we might be able to just delete that. So what I wanted to do is disable some stuff by default. Because truly here's also something, what is with this patch? This somehow is not working anyway, and it's certainly... Because we have this mechanism of packages extending other packages. Patch-o-matic, thank you very much. Maybe this doesn't select something because it has potentially hard-coded version numbers here, and that doesn't... Here is L7 patch, yeah. So that is... I think so this, maybe this is still maintained. So if networking is your thing and you were into this patch, please send patches and stuff. We could quickly check. Also, yes, SourceForge. Probably everyone moved to GitHub. Move to the Clear Foundation. What the? Move to Clear Foundation. That is also can't find server. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so patches welcome and stuff. Yeah. And so AUFs. So this were what we had once. What was it? UnionFS. Then we had another UnionFS, like AUFS, like 15 years ago. And then we had another UnionFS too. And now we have something in the kernel, 16.4 of Union, or overlay of S. So this is basically a little bit of continuing our 1 decade later spring cleaning stuff here. Does this stuff still exist? Maybe not. One, yeah, 11. So I think that is fair. Does UnionFS utilities? We probably can delete that if file system. Is that the right one? Oh, so yes, this is also. This is crazy how many different Union. Oh, by the way, is it the same as? I think it's the same as overlay, isn't it? So many things. Even I decade later starting this overview. The question is, do we need more latency? Vodafone stocks as latency. Is that it again? It's oops. Best latency to type voice. So I think we delete like basically all of this, I would say. It makes no sense. I keep some vintage and retro stuff around, but there is a this is funny. A real Apple fanboy is making Linux better. How am I an Apple fanboy though? The one who constantly calls out peak bugs. Dr. Schubert also believes UnionFS was rejected in favor of overlay OS. Yes, this is also what I think. And this is why we certainly can delete that. Nothing like keeping our source tree lean and clean. And yeah, Triple S, a real 20-year Linux veteran, Linux distribution developer, who is even working on ARM64 Asahi Linux support and stuff. But yeah, troll's gonna troll. Overlay, so probably documentation. Do we have some over? No. Do we find some documentation? Oh, come on. Do they have any tools we should package? But is it another? Did we not just hit overlay file system org? All right, we. So do they have any mount overlay? Okay, they have simply mount options. Do they need any tools? Maybe not. Make application tools, ignore overlay objects. Yeah. Maintenance tools for overlay. Let's see what they have to offer. I mean, very theoretically, we could. Overlay is the union file system provided by Linux kernel. Okay, vacuum diff. So this don't have releases. So is this? Does it have any releases anywhere? As we like release tarballs. Okay, they have an RPM package for that though. Oh, I love stuff without. Okay, they have 004. Some Git near 2022 or 2021. 004. Master cloud. Yeah, nothing like releasing stuff without. That even the question is there. Is this a fork or 30 forks? Is this the yeah, not the greatest fan of unversion stuff. The question is, do we have that? Probably not. So and so what else do we have here? We are still building. And the big test is also what if the Rust and cargo stuff from yesterday and other updates randomly broke other stuff. And then I hopefully nearly only need to improve the grub file system stuff. And finally eventually release this stuff. What do we have here? So we have still our Unionverse. Do we still? Or did I not delete that? Probably not. What else do we have here? Reading, searching, something. So and then there might still be third-party drivers like NVIDIA, which there's already a GitHub issue I opened one some week ago. Not the greatest fan of this NVIDIA binary-only stuff, but if you got to use that, we should. So this is extremely outdated. It's disabled by default, except this one here. So we also want to disable that here. That was this is a non-legacy package. I wonder with what state did I commit the Martrock stuff? That was MTX. This outdated stuff I only recently. So this because this doesn't even build with the latest Xorg server. But I will not delete those because I want to have this stuff potentially in our mirror and stuff. So if it's like of historic significance, for example, for reverse engineering, we will keep this. But otherwise, like there is more value in this binary-only driver for exotic graphic hardware than on otherwise outdated open source package stuff. What was the other? This was MTX and M9. And I guess that has a similar fate. Did I package Power VR stuff? What else did we had recently? I will most likely even package 3D FX Wildcat driver. I hope I get this to work. Also, I auctioned for relatively affordable a Sun version from an Ultra 45. Ultra 45? Ultra 40 or Ultra 45? Ultra 40. And so I'm not sure if that will post and work with open firmware on a PCIe bridge Sunblade or so, because I'm not shedding €1,000 out for an Ultra 40. We probably could take a look where we have post Linux something. Okay, there are still quite some. So there is probably, what is even this lazy FS? Was it from some lazy install stuff? The question is out also. So, I mean, so if it has historic significance, we keep it for historic archiving perseverance. Also, theoretically, we have it in old releases. I mean, if it's too much garbage, we will delete it. For example, this SL modem, was it software Linux modem stuff? I think this also included binary only stuff, unfortunately. Yeah, so we basically need to. I think they're all outdated, like even for VMware. Wow, should we? Yeah, theoretically, I think it's worthless to open a GitHub issue for like stuff like VMware. Cut the limiter field. What do we have here of? To like 3. And then which even confusing key bindings here, likewise versus. So there, are we still building by the way? Still building, yay. Somehow it feels a little bit slow today, also I pressed some random garbage. So, grab this P stuff in, package. Yeah, so many of which are, at least some are still. How many other changes do we have there? Not that I get into chaos. Okay, this is. So basically we probably, should we SED that or hand edit that? Yeah. Maybe we should SED that. Otherwise it's a little bit too much SED. Substitute. Let's make it easy. P X2 P O. Yep, that looks like you could force it a little bit more, but yeah. So let's see what we disabled there. Ah, darn, we also messed it up. Fun. We could make it easy or we could break it. Let's reword this once and do it again. Well, I could edit that with SED trailing P too, but we could also SED Z. Does it have a chance? So open VM tools. What was it even? I forgot. Emulators. I have no clue what that was. Maybe someone. Open VM. And so if you need that, then just submit a patch like lurk and stuff. It's like, yeah, YOLO, whatever. This Broadcom WL I needed for this previous aging Retina MacBook Pro, also not recommended in this wrapper. Yeah. Hey Mole, I think Mole, Alexander Graf patched that though for KVM. Did we change that? So Mole, I think Mole we revert. Mole, I tested Mole Mac on Linux some time ago. But I think, do we include the KVM patched version? Did I test this 10 years ago? I think Alexander Graf from other QEMU and stuff fame patched that for KVM. Let Mole default to KVM here on partial support for KVM and okay, 2000. Hey, I did this 10 years ago. Amazing stuff. So that here's KVM default. Do we have here? Oh, okay. Wait, is what? Okay, this is probably the more kernel module. What does it exactly do? Not sure, but this patch will for sure not work anymore. Oh, that is a small change. Do we even need that? Trunk source mol F MPPC 32. Okay, this is okay. We might need that. That is interesting. We might need that because we don't transform assembler arguments and. So what else do we have there? What's the recommendation? Young programmer of difficulty to focus on only who has difficulty. Uh, I don't know. Maybe stop. You guys always ask difficult questions. You ask the person who has difficulties focusing on his microkernel and is his successful business and wasting too much lifetime on his unsuccessful moment Linux distribution. But I would say like stop doing random stuff. I mean, a little bit like, of course, I focused on T2. I have some other stuff like running a company and family, but even I want to focus, although this is as funny as I'm just building, rebuilding up the T2 community. It is certainly strange and maybe not encouraging to say I want to focus on other stuff like microkernel. But I also want to, well, T2 is a relatively good state, I would say, mostly like 99%ish. Certainly, sure, dependencies and stuff and so on. But even I want to move on to my microkernel other new. Maybe it's actually the problem. But the thing is, there are 1,890 plus Linux distributions, and there will not be the year of the Linux desktop. So maybe this is also me moving on to, but certainly continuing to maintain T2, but not like as much of a main hobby thing here. But to come back to the question, and so much to focusing myself, right? But I would say try to focus on either maybe you need to make a decision. Do you want to focus on what is the most commercial successful? Unfortunately, most countries live in a capitalism, and you certainly need to earn some income and stuff, which is also why I built some company, right? If you're interested in our stuff, don't delay. Try this stuff today. So you probably need to focus, is it stuff for earning a living or hobby? And then whatever is in this category, focus on like what do you most want to do? Either for business, what do you want to do most to earn a living, or depending on your priorities, what has the highest chance to actually earn a living, like aka maybe not open source, right? And otherwise, if it's a hobby, the category should probably mostly be what do you have the most fun with or want to do the most with as a hobby to have fun or entertainment or stuff. I hope that helped. As usual, leave me some feedback. What was even KVM default? Does it mean we I'm actually not even sure if... Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter the most, but the point is that this kernel patch for sure doesn't work anymore. I think we simply, if you want to use mole and not QEMU, then you're probably gonna want to use KVM, otherwise everything else is probably mostly pointless. If you would be surprised if this still works. But again, so mole I will not delete, so this is like of historic significance, and once upon a time I even used it. Also, yeah. The crazy thing is, I think, I mean, back in the day, well, mole with Mac on Linux was the KVM of PowerPC, and the performance was also thing. I think back in the day there wasn't even, because PowerPC is more virtualization friendly. So the crazy thing is, 15 years ago, it was way more efficient to develop and test Linux for me on PowerPC with Mac on Linux, even being able to boot Linux similar to QEMU, and it was higher performance, right? This is a crazy thing. One single, I think once nearly alone developer creating better visualization software for PowerPC than QEMU was back in the day. And yeah, Foster is a student interested in Linux graphics, Mesa driver, Wayland. What would you recommend to learn? Very few want to go deeper. Well, it's the same applies there. Mostly either what you have the most fun with and want to learn the most, or what you see the most commercial future with. If you want, Wayland is of course more graphic desktop stuff, and applications. It probably depends if you want to go more low level and then Mesa, like more low level and driver, or low level driver and application framework low level stuff, or Wayland. It's Wayland as it is a very small thing. I mean, certainly Mesa is like magnitudes larger than just tiny little Wayland desktop stuff. Wayland as it, I personally don't even find the most interesting. I would say, I mean, all the Mesa, Vulkan, 3D or other stuff or drivers, I would find more interesting than Wayland. But Dr. Schubert say also buggy. Yeah, I didn't use it much. I only tested it a little bit the last. I mean, I used it a decade ago, obviously, when PowerPC was more recent to me. I think Alexander Graf probably must have used it quite a bit. I mean, KVM on PowerPC depends on which PowerPC, and maybe page table handling and stuff is slower because it doesn't have hardware-assisted virtualization. So maybe it's in general memory, MMU emulation and page table handling and stuff. But yeah, I mean, we could profile that, right? But but for us, I would rather, I will really soon, we just need to, we did so much work on T2, we need to freaking get it out of the door, right? It makes no sense to make 99% of the work and then the last 1% delay the release like indefinitely, because we don't have that ready. So yeah, because what I wanted to say is, it would be cool to make some like virtualization, like example code, like red and blue pill kind of in our nano and microkernel stuff, upcoming later soon this year. Try P3, most representable platform. Yeah, that is true. I think I tested it. I tested it a little bit, but I only fired it up like once or twice on a P3. I think I used it on a G4 and G5, like the G4 Cube and the PowerPC dual core G5. So many questions here. See many C++ jobs, C++ and Qt, but some ideas. MCUs, kernel drivers, create new device. Create new devices. I mean, create the new devices as a hobby is hard to do commercially successful. I personally don't like Qt much. Not sure how many jobs. I mean, maybe there are some jobs, but Qt is, I don't know. I never have been a Qt fan, so I'm totally biased to answer on that. Maybe, but it is, again, the question is, do you want to? You have mostly two choices. Focusing on commercially successful stuff that might be the most commercial successful stuff has always been the most annoying stuff to me, which is maybe why they pay good. So either fun or commercial successful, and or something in between. The more fun, maybe that's the least. Like if you do something a little bit more fun, then maybe you don't get as well paid for that. But as usual, looking forward to your comments. So I only wonder right. So this was we have this KVM code for. I slightly wonder if we should always default to KVM. To be honest, I'm not sure if. Maybe we don't touch it too much here for some packages that we don't even need today. Although I'm slightly tempted to, because we just let's feel lucky and like always KVM default because we just deleted it. Removed more post Linux. And always default to KVM because everything else has no chance to work. And if you want to work on something of that sort, then KVM certainly, probably, mostly is. Actually, I wonder if that's the thing often. Like mole could be in emulators, but it's PowerPC only. It's in PowerPC. I'm not sure sometimes. Otherwise, I'm more like having architecture only bootloader and stuff, like not mole per se, maybe, but yeah. Anyway, so the other stuff is that only, let's So yeah, this is only disabling. And so again, I mostly do this to optimize, like all of this stuff currently here. Welcome and good to see you all. Is just to optimize your experience, right? I always build stuff how I want, but this is just like avoiding common errors at home. So that stuff more often just scrolling. Like basically, what pro tip: read the diff before you commit stuff. For example, here we could. I mean, it's a little bit pointless, but I just see there's multiple. So someone has commented out versions here. We could clean this up a tiny little bit, and also it's entirely pointless of this bit rotten and maybe mostly obsolete stuff. But basically, also okay, yes. Yeah, but I mean, we don't need to comment it out versions there. I mean, we can document where this previously, is it even, wait a second. It's not even, this is funny. I think this is not even used, so this is rather, at least, oh wait a second, 80, I think this looks not really used. Maybe the same here, so someone has added a new version. I would, or is it others? Yeah, and it's like totally, yeah, and it's somewhat pointless, but nonetheless, trying to clean up here. So one more. Disabled all outdated third-party Linux. Post Linux kernel packages. Again, they're still there if you want to work on something and need something. Even like this Broadcom WL is still needed for some yesteryear's Intel MacBooks. Unfortunately, not a fan of that. And this wrapper might be useful. I slightly wonder, do they still maintain that? Actually, maybe you know what, maybe this is the only thing still maintained. Which, if you're new to this stuff, this is when Wi-Fi drivers were not as common for Linux. This was from, hey, 2020. This was from back in the day, so 163, you know what, let's... So this is like running Windows NDIS drivers in the Linux kernel. And a fun fact, in a microkernel, you could actually always support like other personalities and run other, like as long as you implement the API and ABI, but also run this isolated. And theoretically, you could even in a multi-server microkernel, you could even run other drivers with some emulation technology like QEMU, like run like this in this stuff, like in user space process without clobbering all the other precious kernel memory. I have a feeling this, oh no, this is actually pretty updated, interesting. So let's see, can we commit this with that reverted? We could, cool. So, hey everyone, what else do we have there? To fix MD64, yeah, it's supposed to work. What VX also x86 could be in. Cool stuff. Happy to hear that. Are we still building? So we're still building. So we are not wasting any electrons here. What is even the temperatures of this stuff? I guess that is under control for the most part. Maybe the pump could. Yeah, I still need to, for all the stuff, so much to previous questions focusing. I actually should write some cooler Fan control stuff. Did you use RISC-V? Will have CPUs that beat 1 day? I mean, yeah. Did you think? The question was, did you think? Yes, of course. Maybe like in 10 years. I mean, obviously, Intel was bending a little bit still, AMD not. But AMD only catched up and overtook Intel a little bit. But I'm not seeing that Intel and AMD. So the other architectures like ARM had, but mostly with Apple because resources and talent and inspiration. But otherwise, like with RISC-V now, RISC-V is so far at the start of the early days of this. And as I said it multiple times, RISC-V is not limited by the ISAR instruction set architecture. RISC-V is limited by the implementations. And they need, similar to Apple's PA Semi team with Apple Silicon, they just need to reinvent all those wheels and gears. And especially now with the vector, certainly bit, but more importantly, vector extension. And it, of course, takes, I'm not sure if Hi-Fi Sci-Fi will be that company, although maybe they will. I heard they also had some internal restructuring and let go some people, unfortunately. Not sure how precisely and how accurate and stuff. Although maybe they let go them those they found least productive and hire new and whatever. But one day, maybe even in 10 years, AMD or so, or even NVIDIA, like when as the ARM acquiring ARM apparently falls through regulatory cracks, maybe even NVIDIA, they have already high performance RISC-V stuff in their graphic card for management tasks. So maybe even NVIDIA could be the first truly high performance implementer of RISC-V. But yeah, it takes a decade because, and welcome everyone, the CPUs are simply so darn complex, right? So to beat x86, you need like a, a 6, I mean, to really beat x86, you would need to have soon like an 8 wide out of order issue, speculative probably, with vector extension and like as many cores as x86. So you also just not only you need all the internal technology of all this microarchitecture, but also manufacture that and stuff, right? So, but yeah, this will come similar to ARM. With ARM, it took like 30 years, and with RISC-V, it will not take 30 years due to how much further advanced we are these days in terms of technology and open tools like Yosys and stuff. It might take 10 years though, and 10 years is optimistic. Maybe NVIDIA could have some stuff like in 5 or 6, 7 years, but or maybe not, or maybe even earlier. No, but other people like not as big as and pockets full with your gamers' money, like NVIDIA, more like in 10 years, like Hi-Fi Sci-Fi with their small company and venture capital money and building everything from scratch, more like 10 years, because especially as Intel and AMD are not standing still and advancing the development stuff. Gifted programmer, what did you get good from? Always a little bit, difficult question. I think not to wanting to sound arrogant. I think we started programming. I mean, I played with. I mean, playing with a kid as a PC, you can't. I mean, this is like getting in touch and used to the technology. I guess I was lucky having a 286 without hard drive and without color video adapter. Later, a 386, relatively soon, a 386 with 2 megabyte of memory for many years, for 6 years or so. I was lucky to have that to grow up with, and were allowed to spend quite some time on my father's PC that wasn't mine. even though what age was. So I was, yeah, this was like 12. And we started more programming. I need to think a little bit. Because I started Turbo Pascal, so I didn't even grow up with C. I started in Turbo Pascal, and I mean, this was rough because it was not Silicon Valley, and my father wasn't a programmer, he was an electrician, and I mean, he could operate the PC, but not like programmer, so like programming Siemens, whatever that was. Also, I want to say I was lucky, but people in Silicon Valley probably were even more lucky because, for example, we grew up with DOS and not like some fancy Unix workstations. So you could have been even more lucky if you had like parents with a next step stuff or Sun or SGI or stuff workstation, and or like even more lucky to have like programmers. So I probably would consider that being medium lucky. Probably should have made this a separate live stream though. But anyway, what my point is that we had a rough start. I mean, with 12 we had a rough start getting the programming. But and then my neighbor, so I learned Turbo Pascal and made some progress there, and like all the low level, like how you wrote DOS games with direct VGA and Sound Blaster Access and stuff, and like DMA controller programming on those garbage PC DMA controller stuff, and like naturally on DOS learning all not all but most of this low level stuff. And so my neighbor knew Turbo assembler, so when I met my neighbor who then knew Turbo assembler, we could throw this stuff together. I tell the story because you need to know some context, right, of the age and stuff. So it's not like always like, hey, I was this and that. It's certainly different nowadays, and there was no internet, right? We couldn't just go to library. We were like freaking 12, and even in the library there were not so many programming books. In the library there was like garbage basic books. I never, even with 12, I never liked. With 12 I found basic like totally useless. But like, yeah, so public library back in the days, like, yeah, good luck with basic programming. It's like, yeah, thank you very much. But I mean, it took some time, but hey, we were like 12 to 16. The 16 and like 16 to 18, we were probably getting quite good. And that times were more difficult. Not only did we not had adults around who could program, unlike in the Silicon Valley or so, or other high profile, aka rich families potentially. And nowadays you have internet, right? I would say back in the days in the 90s, it was way more freaking difficult because, sure, internet existed, but we didn't have internet. The first internet, I think I had myself, like in my parents' basement, but myself with my own modem, with a V90 modem, I think 56K. And even then you couldn't, like, the internet was a different place, and you couldn't, like, on your one landline, you couldn't like occupy your one parent's landline with a V90 modem all day and night. But yeah, it was, so you can't freaking totally not compare that. And we probably should have made this a different argument. The questions always. So I think at that time to summarize this up, I probably, certainly fair to say, my neighbor and I, we certainly spend a whole lot of time on that. And nowadays it's easier because nowadays everything's internet and everything is way more successful. So yeah, but leave in the comments, better rate me and comment there. And yeah. Dr. Schubert says, wasn't next stuff crazy expensive? Yeah, it was crazy expensive, just like Sun and SGI stuff was. And I didn't even know that Mac existed, right? Mac, even in Germany, even in Western Germany, the Mac stuff was successful, but so rare that I didn't even know it existed until, nobody had a freaking Mac of my neighbors and stuff. Neighbors had the C64, Amiga 500, and the later powerful PCs. But I think I knew nobody until like I think the first Mac I might have seen was 16, and yeah. And then I've only seen it and not like used it. Yeah, even Macs were freaking more expensive, and yeah, after home computers. We didn't have a C64, we didn't have an Amiga, so we had first a PC, a 286 without hard drive and color graphics, and then relatively soonish a 386 SX25, 2 megabyte, and eventually freaking VGA color graphics. Yeah, amazing stuff. Linux from scratch is better, worse to learn than compared to... I don't know. Difficult questions. Please, other people. I'm not. I think I would use something like T2 because I find Linux from scratch pointless waste of time going through that. Maybe scrolling over it and then using something like T2 or similar systems, because manually doing that is total waste of time, total error prone. It makes no sense to sit there a day or week and retyping, copy and pasting all this stuff, and just use T2 and package stuff or look in there how stuff builds. And actually, I would say with Linux from scratch you learn very little. I would say you learn more by extracting the sources and like look into if something doesn't work, or where you want to know if something doesn't work. Hey, we have a regression, so much to... So what is regressing here? That's exactly what I thought. Rust, what's happening here? This was x86. One Rust seal, what's going on? I mean, it could be we updated Rust recently. Oh man, all this many. Feature, stable release, may don't go. Why is there always something? Especially with Rust. Small work feature. So this is now, I'm not, did we disable the, how far did we disable the bootstrap? Was there some bootstrap, or do we always build with, no we don't build with, So this is hard to tell, to be honest. I mean, we could, maybe it broke in the last update. So much to updating Rust. Yeah, so just with yesterday's live stream, right? There is this new core util stuff, and you look at it and it's not the most amazing. I'm somehow not the most impressed with, and I would have hoped that with this all new memory safe Rust stuff, stuff becomes more stable, and it somehow, the Rust and cargo stuff is not improving. I mean, besides this is also right. You ask about times. I sunk multiple weeks of my life, realistically, like all the live streams. So I for sure. Okay, this still. So this was not purely the update. And yeah, so to get all this working and packaged and so on, so I had to spend a significant amount of time to support this Rust and cargo stuff somewhat, and even then it's like constantly not amazing. Let's see, the early games like Duo made on Nextcube. Macintosh was mostly in US thing. Yeah, I mean, Macs were relatively... I mean, Germany was maybe the second biggest market after the US. But then second biggest after the US does not mean it was... I mean, in the 90s, there were less PCs anyway, and then like even less of those were Macs. So it's like, yeah. Worked like based on an Nextcube, yeah. Now that T2 more minutes than David Jonas, T2 more minimalistic. I would say so. I would also say that T2 is more readable, and yeah, as Dr. Schubert says, it's like more automatically, although it's using lesser technology, aka shell scripting, compared to Python. It is ironically more automated, and I would also say readable. I think as low-tech and like old-fashioned low-tech shell scripting is, it is more readable. So why is this failing? That is crazy. It could be. Could it be? Also, maybe it's actually. Could it be that it is using a config toml thing? Is it? Oh wait, this is it toml? No, it is a cargo toml. Actually, maybe it is actually not an update regression, but desk. Maybe it's actually using our new stuff here. So we need a run. What was it? Run. Is it run cargo? How do we usually do that? Do we even have? Yeah, these are a little bit. Okay, run. Okay, we usually use 0. We probably could actually use not setting, like clearing that. Like basically, it's a bit pointless. Basically, we could like boolean everything, not one, not run this. It's a little bit C-ish to 0 that, but also we set up packages to auto with data. What one? Yeah, I should need to further improve data to have even. Yeah, the next weeks with moving more stuff to the data center will also be more data improvements, hopefully soon. So let's hope that is just that. But this is also why we do that. Testing, the most testing. Also we digressed a little bit with talking past and stuff. But in general, I would actually say, hey, here is on our Discord, Peakbugs, Ella posts, isn't C just lovely? Sometimes GitHub, Mesa, merge request, fix operator, precedence in address calculation macros, and this is why I looked like a fool looking up C operator precedence. I'm not a fan of that, right? I would actually, in like similar to Lua, because let's open that. See. So basically nobody remembers that offhead, right? You can't tell me, unless you are so domain specific that you only write in C, and then you know that. But otherwise, I think this are like from the 16 levels, this are like 10 at least too much. And I would actually argue, and people make mistakes, right? Sure, you can write compact code of leaving out some parentheses, but I would significantly simplify that. Maybe plus and parentheses and function call and stuff, certainly first, like here. But then all of this stuff like makes this freaking all the same. Like who freaking cares, right? If it's and then like all the like treat like multiplication is before shifting. Interesting. Yeah, for example, yeah, this is also basically mostly like how the first Cunningham-Ritchie stuff was, K and R C was implemented, and like basically like this is not like by like amazing design, but like just how it historically accidentally was in the first implementation of the C language or so. And I would argue most of this should be the same. Also, like why is that before and like before XOR and stuff? Like make them all the same and then left to right. And if people need other than and group it with parentheses, would certainly long have stuff more clear readable and less error prone and stuff. So here is there is even the summary of see they totally got that. Anyway, okay, so this apparently starts to build, so let's see, let's hope that is enough. So fix C, put the package regression due, can even, that would be cargo in generic cargo support. Or not with, but not in, but with something fixed. Let's see. I mean, RustC is a package to need. The right package again. RustC regression do generic cargo support with revision something. But what I wanted to say before this build error happened, someone comments, wanted to learn to code. How important are data structures? How often do you use them? I would argue they are important. I would actually, despite many people argue you need to learn C for all the low-level stuff. I would argue no. C is not a good language, although people still try to claim otherwise. It's not even a good system programming language. If you do level stuff, maybe it's certainly helpful and worthwhile to understand how processors, CPUs work and how machine code works. But C, I would not consider important. I would actually consider data structures more important. That is the rise and the fall of not only readable, but also high performance programming. And I would consider like useful data structures way more important than the programming language. Even if you start with C, which I would not recommend in 2022, at least, I mean, C++, they destroyed so much, like, maybe even Rust. I would actually not recommend Java the most, although some universities have done so for a long time. I heard many universities switched from Java to Python potentially, which may also not be the greatest choice. But maybe right now the most short or midterm future proof is Rust and stuff. Data structures, certainly important. You can't, even in C, you can't write a good program without good data structures, I would say. So this stuff works. So what else can we do here? We probably should, should we actually build the Linux kernel? I hope. Maybe I shouldn't do that in my running system. What else do we have? So mostly looking for regressions and making sure stuff builds for you at home. 5.14.8. I hope I shouldn't. Still booting a bit oldish kernel on this Horizon. Don't want to change that as I'm using it mostly remotely. I need stability. What else did we want to do today? Oops. So we found one regression, that was exactly the point. So then the biggest thing actually, EFI devices, more test suite, Other stuff not as important. All right. Basically, everything is like, yeah, not the most important. I think we can delete this. We found recently the Linux kernel people might have done some automated stuff there. Maybe that is saying no, not the most important for us. Is this still a thing? We need to check. And yeah, so grub. So I mean, this is an important test. So because we, as you see, we have updated this majorly, and well, this is the thing. So the question is data. I mean, maybe we should do a programming 101. It probably would be way more significantly more successful than random code development. So the good thing is I use like C++ and Lua. And Lua is also mostly amazing, except the crazy thing is, Lua was amazing, like 4.5.1 and Lua JIT. Lua JIT, for good reasons, didn't adapt most features of the latest language variants. And similar to C++, they ruined Lua a little bit or made it less attractive to me with the latest versions. And so Lua is so much more amazing because you have this, everything is a table, not everything, but you have like Booleans and numbers and strings and tables, and you can use this table so freaking flexible and use this as amazing data structures. And similar in C++, I find, I would say everyone, and yes, C++ the last decade's not amazing, and C++ was not the most amazing 20 years ago, but significantly better than C. And they didn't make it more amazing the last decade, unfortunately. All the latest, most of the latest stuff, not amazing. But still, the 20-year-old STL has some data structures with also, especially with generic programming. Generic programming, in my opinion, mostly amazing. If done right, yes, in C++ they have not done it right, but it was, to be fair, generic programming in C++ was one of the earlier versions of that. Incarnations of generic programming. And my point is, like the C++, unlike C comes with some data structures or containers, where in C you have like nothing except arrays, next to nothing. You can like have maps and or like simply like typed arrays and like resizable containers and like iterators of and algorithms, and that, in my opinion, despite 90% of C++ also not being amazing, makes it much more productive, less error prone, and so on. Then, and hey, it has a freaking string type that doesn't totally suck. But yeah. Dr. Schubert writes, Lua is like simpler and better JavaScript. Yeah, totally right. Totally agree. And this is, with so many things, exactly on point, that everything is too complex and too buggy, and JavaScript is so freaking strange with automated type conversion and like to string, whatever the term was for that, and other. JavaScript is so full of historic craziness. And this also makes the language so complex. So because they need to still implement all the historic baggage that nobody even wants, or so much what the heck were they thinking? I wish over the last decades of HTML and surrounding W3 standardization, they would have distilled JavaScript down to a more simplified, like, core ECMAScript of making it more minimal, like Lua, instead of supporting all the historic baggage and yet making it even more complex. And it's basically the same for C++ and so many other things. It's like, yeah. So what is our build doing? Okay, our build Rust. So the one last thing is one last thing is fixing grub EFI stuff. So the good thing is stuff mostly built. So despite me and new maintainers changing and adding so much stuff, it's still mostly builds, which obviously is encouraging and so on. Let's see what else is going on here. That yeah, because with the release package selection, I somehow personally would prefer a more minimal one, although it especially for I mean I could fix that by building everything, like building even more variants and like not installing, because my issue is now that if I install on data center VMs, deploy the x86 default build which includes Firefox, I wouldn't want to have that lingering around in containers unnecessarily. Maybe I therefore, I mean, either I think the best thing is to maybe just simply build an additional x86 minimal, to be honest. I think this probably would make the most sense, so that I can use or making everything network install. Not sure. Also, do I really like this? Basically, meaning having we could also solve this by having a better package selection in the installer that allows us to easier select minimal instead of Xorg and Firefox stuff. That is yeah, so many things to consider and work on. Yeah, or I simply remove Firefox and Xorg server and Mesa and call it mostly a day or something. I need to think about this. That is waiting between making it easy for you playing along at home and supporting my own computing needs here. To learn, so what else do we have there? Resources to learn, how to code, any recommended write good error-free code. Mine told me it's useful to read good program. I would, so the thing is, reading good program source code, the problem is unless, and yeah, so many people in the comments here tell me, but C is amazing. No, C is not amazing. So you see, so many people already disagree, right? There is not like one criteria for good programming code, and so many people are triggered by my content here and commenting, no, C is amazing, when it is not. That not only for an expert, but certainly for a newcomer, it is difficult to find what's good program code. And like, spoiler alert, 99% of the, or like 95% of the program code out there is not good, as we're currently seen here. So this is probably not a really helpful advice. I would say good. I mean, there is a book. I have some books and I continue to buy some books, and some 5 or so years ago I brought Beautiful Code, and and I also maybe I should make more vlogs. I wanted to say I've sometimes some opinions. Maybe I should make some Casey Neistat like opinion vlogs. Let's so Beautiful Code. This book was actually not saying that this book is super amazing, but it was probably for beginners quite useful. So this code, this book is not, I could recommend. there is Java in, so I remember there's an x86 emulator written in Java and stuff. And I would argue actually, I mean, not like this is like 100% correct, but it's like, it's a good book if you want to have some examples that are somewhat beautiful. And there's similar data. I think there was like beautiful data too. I think I brought both. And I think, was it beautiful? What is it? But yeah, also not all code books are good or beautiful, but this was okay. But there was a companion book, either beautiful data or is it or are they written orally plus minus? Here, beautiful data. Just didn't. Why is there no preview or? I think this was a companion. I mean, maybe beautiful data was. Yeah, it's also beautiful visualization, and this I don't have yet. I think it might have been this one. Yeah, I think the problem also finding good books, right? Maybe I should actually getting more successful here, making like a weekly opinion vlog and a weekly book review and a weekly movie review. Like, hey, have you watched Expanse or The Man in the High Castle? But so what else do we have there? So I would argue this or other good programming books are way more helpful than reading random code, because random code is 95% not good. And otherwise, you probably want to share, like, and subscribe to this channel, obviously. When said reading, I mean, I agree that reading, I mean, the problem is only that so much code is not good, especially those people who think they are the master of C and think C is amazing. And so there's so much C code out there that is really not good. This is only why I'm, otherwise. And Dr. Schubert learned, I mean, you could certainly, but you need to understand, Dr. Schubert learned working on bad code. Yeah, so true. And like us, right, working on bad open source code. But you need to have some understanding what is good and bad. And like not all, and especially open source code out there is good. And you need to, however, to develop some understanding why some code is not good, like not clearly structured, hard to read, and other stuff. Do we still building here? Do you think we should start rewriting critical summary safe? Yeah, yes. David John asked, should start rewriting. Absolutely. I mean, some people did, and this is why I recurrently say, despite ourselves using Linux, recurrently Linux is not amazing as seen here, right? So yes, we definitely need to, as it is way overdue. We should have, I say this so often, we could have in 20 years used lightweight C++ with like strings, like I said this, like, or like more memory, I mean, not memory safe, but like containers and algorithms and stuff. Also, this triggers some people. I argued here a lot of times already that 90% of most common mistakes of memory, of manually working like pointers and strings and stuff could have been so much avoided, and with a similar performance, not even with using like STL strings and freaking containers and stuff. Like, I don't understand why people, I mean, these STL containers are still high performance, right? It's the STL vector is still an array, and just like with some like proper methods of checking the size and stuff, it's all the stuff you don't even have in C. Like, so. I think the STL strings could even be partially higher performance at some things because you have an explicit size. So, and this makes the stuff even working with random raw data easier because you have kind of null in there, and some algorithms can even have better performance because you don't need to string links all this stuff, right? People always think C is high performance. No, you can write higher performance code easier in C++. Sure, you can also write higher performance code in C, but then you need to use more low-level primitives that might come for free in STL or nearly for free, and much easier readable with SIMD libraries and strings, right? A lot of string algorithms can be way higher performance in C++ because you have an explicit size, so all the stuff where you need to string link and stuff over and over again is simply much higher performance in C++, right? Yeah, it's just fact. So this stuff is mostly building, so then we only need to, we need to release soon because we need to move on and eventually have releases here. What else do we have there? Just see bad, bugs, difficult, adding new features back, important, programmer efficiency, agreement. And most importantly, programmer's efficiency and range of human error, possibilities easy. Don't like glib. Yeah, C isn't here. String view is pretty performant, and also C plus 20 did add constant expression standard string. Yeah, so amazing stuff. Yeah, and C++ could have been even more amazing for a long time, and yes, C++ is in total not totally amazing, but yeah, so is not Rust and stuff. So yeah, stuff is building. So far so good. We need to, yeah, we hopefully can release that soon. We streamed long enough, especially with all our talking. 1 hour 30, of course it is 1 hour 30 because I told so many history lessons and stories of my past. Okay, data doesn't find much today because we have data running in the background. So yeah, I'm awaiting this build. I'm a little bit mixed what we will do with Xorg drivers. But I mean, they are tiny in the grand scheme of things. They are tiny. I'm only wondering whether I should, also Mesa, I was thinking for like a moment to maybe change, yeah, but maybe it's not worth it. Like I was like, instead of all the other architectures, like not building Xorg and stuff, but honestly just like I was thinking like building Mesa and maybe even Xorg server, but it is actually already so much more error prone stuff that, yeah, maybe we don't do. Maybe we ship already, I think we ship minimal Xorg for most stuff, right? Yeah, minimal Xorg, yeah. The only thing is we could, yeah, how much? I mean, we could, for example, change minimal Xorg to only have all the drivers like in the major architectures like minimal desktop and by the way, here's also some stuff delete Versi. It's even the yeah, that's historic documents. I mean, this CMPDA stuff I've not tried in 20 years. It's like mostly, I mean, I either use it as an example of how to create small stuff, but I have the feeling maybe it's time to wipe here some stuff. Like this is like hopeless in 2022. Even Xen, I mean, wireless router T2, I would actually want to continue. The Raspberry Pi target is somewhat superfluous, though it's also done by other people. I would argue this should nowadays use some normal target and have all this stuff. Yeah, this wasn't like more than 2.6 like a long time ago. I would argue the value in this stuff is next to 0. When was the last person touching this? Not that someone... Yeah. I would say this is not how it should be done. Any type is removed superfluous. I probably have a typo in there, but doesn't matter. And Raspberry Pi target. Yeah. We should, yeah, so the default ARM desktop stuff should of course just eventually work on Raspberry Pi. With all the bootloader quirks and nonsense though, but it's... so yeah, quite some cleanups for today. Nothing like deleting totally obsolete stuff. And there's a difference between having packages of historically at least somewhat relevant Matrox and Voodoo and NVIDIA stuff, and like totally useless Raspberry Pi target stuff there. Like, yeah. Anyway, wonder if yeah, maybe I go to the family. I hope I learned something. So we at least fixed some regression and did some cleanups, and yeah, maybe with this track. So the problem is that this comment engagement always makes me talk too much about past experiences. Maybe I should get better in that, as much as I appreciate the stuff. Ironically, I made some like history video, Ask Me Anything stuff even already 2 years ago. Probably I should split these videos better by content, which I already tried to do a little bit. Need to get even better at that. Certainly much more value in having more structured content. So yeah, super amazing. New maintainers, new contributors, better working, better supported Rust and Cargo stuff. Fixed the regression, deleted totally obsolete stuff. Fixed some building by default, disabling obsolete stuff. All right, so we have one more thing to do. Welcome everyone. I already rolled the outro. We have actually this stupid UnionFS stuff. We got a little bit sidetracked there. Where was this Unionist? Wait a second. And this wrapper was the latest version, right? We had there 63. Did I? Here's the overlay tools and 60. Do we have maybe in this wrapper the data or someone? One. Yeah. So this looks actually latest. I wanted to package this overlay tools. Yeah, no, just hello, Doxers. Are we still here? Oh, wait a second. So could have copied office, but doesn't matter. Like let's copy squash fs to over tools disk. Yeah, how long this overlay tool stuff took in the Linux kernel that it eventually something is upstream. It's ridiculous. Like it's for sure took like 10 years or so. And like everything, like yeah, not committing this. Like I mean, I appreciate review and release quality, but not like having every live CD ship their own out of tree stuff there for so long that I would say it's a little bit hilarious, but as hilarious as it is that this doesn't have any release tags here. The question is even, is this the latest upstream? It's a little bit silly that they don't have releases, but that is the state of open source. What should we do? Wait a second, do we have this Is this the same? Okay, XZ. Why do I have this open? Did we had? I think there was some. Was it like we were somewhere? Did we not had some? Let's use this one, but maybe this is what we had open earlier. Oops. So how to download that? There was maybe, how did it work? Clicking on there and then on tarball. Let's copy that like git. And here we need like a commit, like not version. Does someone have a... Andy S writes maybe the Asai Linux, Hector Martin, maybe. Otherwise, don't usually watch too many myself. Let's see, we need overlay tools. And then that. Maybe when we click on, here was also download, where was it? Was it here? Here. Download zip. Shit. Overlay something. So, so first of all, we need like tar. Was it tar? And then heads master, maybe this. Oops, shit. I find it rather sad that we need to. Oops. Need to peel out stuff like that. Yeah, of course not. Where did we? Maybe. Here we still are here. Tar gset. This is how that works. Now your packages, I guess. So tar gset hash. Oh, come on. Code load. This is why. What was it? GitHub? Just GitHub, hopefully. Oh, my. Shit. Yeah, not a fan of this modern software distribution. Oh, wait a second. Darn, this has. This is why. Okay, override from. This has actually code load. Yeah. Had code load, but. Oops. Of course overlay, override that and copy and pasting that and then mangling that. Oh, that worked. So let's try to cross compile it, because why not? Overlay tools, what could possibly go wrong? That didn't. Okay, so this needs. Okay, let's build it into the system. Although we could theoretically, you know what, we delete this soon anyway, so let's try with attr. Maybe it leaves. Extended attribute package. attr. So this somehow did not. It could be though they moved some header to glibc, I know from experience. So apparently this does not even just build tm. Let's see, so this is also the same. I think glibc has it now in like this maybe. Yeah, glibc is this X attribute. So did we had, oops. What else was there? Or was this just another file? But yeah, nothing like having to latest and greatest Linux overlay tools. You need to peel it out of GitHub without any release, and then it doesn't even freaking compile on latest systems. That is a yeah, recurring theme here, recurring criticism, recurring my life. It's ridiculous. And then people troll me like, yeah, YOLO, some fun Mac OS boys. Like, no, I was a Linux fanboy until I realized that this is not totally amazing. Fix file diff off. Hot fix x patch. Let's see. Build that again, and but did we not patch that? Ah, darn, we just deleted it. Did I not fix file diff this correctly? Oh, come on. What a fail. This is why. Nothing like doing this twice. So this was main and logic. But yeah, see, even such a few file, how many files were this? Yeah, but Linux kernel and stuff, like a 3C file stuff doesn't even build because C is too difficult and Linux ecosystem and stuff. So let's hopefully this time let's hopefully install it correctly, and otherwise, yeah, at least, yeah, quite some. This doesn't install because make install. Nah, thank you very much. Yeah, packaging Linux. 15 years no, or over 10 years no union like other union FS stuff in the Linux kernel. And when they eventually is the tools, it's like, yeah, this is, but they ship the perf tools in the Linux kernel just because. So they don't have an install target because it would be too good. I guess then you couldn't afford it anymore. So the overlay, I guess we not a fan of the Mac international Mac key layout. So also not a fan of this highlighting. Confuses me more than it helps. So make inst opt that and maybe a spindir. This is a system tool, maybe not the most useful for normal users. But yeah, this is a Linux ecosystem experience, no release, stuff not building with latest C libraries, and last but not least, doesn't even have an install target. I risk my, currently live on this channel, I risk my case. And this is not, okay, this is not the most useful, but whatever, doesn't matter. Better than nothing. Also not sure if, does it really need, no, maybe it needs attribute, I will not have a show. Again, better than nothing quality. We still have some metadata to fill out. Yeah, packaging stuff. It's tedious, mostly boring, and does it? This stuff has an author, maybe like no author. So the thing that was eventually moved doesn't even, which lives it isn't even because that file didn't have a, what is a VTFPL license? Do what the fuck you want to public license? Quality tools. Maybe it's not even the official tools, maybe this is just some add-on stuff. So public domain worked. Not sure who even. For safety reasons, vacuum will not actually modify the file system but generate a shell script to do the changes instead. No, wow, what technology? 2022. I mean, maybe these are like unofficial add-on tool things. Probably it are, because as maybe packaging this is totally waste of time and resources. What is even license in there? Does it say? But this is not, this is only, is this the, Is this the original author of this stuff or not? This is confusing. Maybe these are not even good tools. Also, it looked like Red Hat packaged this, right? Why do we even package that then? Did you not previously see some SRPMs? Okay, maybe this tools are not the most neat and stuff, but anyway. Better than nothing. So, okay, was actually, so this is some stupid GTK. We eventually need to fix it. So this is just GTK being stupid and touching their files. The way I usually work around it, which is certainly not good, is builds this like once in the system so that this Python, I guess, updates its cache and stuff, which is of course, yeah, not amazing technology. 2022. Python cache stuff still clobbers, and I think something like that made it usually go away. Let's keep the fingers crossed, and coffee is also empty. So yeah, 2 hours of open source Sunday here coming to an end. I need to leave. Okay, this, yes, as you see, this works around this. As this is not how it should be. Theoretically, we should somehow do it better. Maybe even not relying on system Python and always building our own flavor. Actually, what I really want personally myself, although it's totally superfluous and not the most important, but I would want some like percentage counter. I think this would be really amazing, but it's not as easy to get in there, so maybe I should try. So because the reason it's not easy, we need to count all the code for that is in. Theoretically, we have code for that, but it's a little bit open coded of counting log files versus it even takes like a second. Even on Horizon 15 or 50X. Actually, I have 409 builds total because we constantly keep adding stuff there. But so the way this works is like it needs to sum up the configured package stages. So that is like, yeah, not like one number. And then it needs to go over the log files of that, which is somewhat expensive. Like, yeah, Horizon can do this in a second, but an aging PowerPC or Spark might need some longer time. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. We fixed some stuff, deleted some stuff. I'm like obsolete and bit rotting up and done there. And yeah, hope you learned something. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I hope to see you soon for even more and similar such stuff to come.